Leaving my six-figure job was very conscious choice. Once I learned spiritual truth about money, it made it easier for me to leave. Technically, on a outside, it looked like that I've made it, I'm successful, I have it all, I can travel, I can do whatever I want. But there was a really deeper reason when I understood what money is and how money works, that decision became really easy for me. And not only that, the environment that I was in, that was very revealing to me how misaligned it was to who I am. I was sacrificing my soul for something that was deeply incongruent with my identity, my being. And that's why I want to share that with you, because most people think that money means safety, security. But actually, when it is robbing you off from peace, from joy, from health, from fulfillment, from your identity, your authenticity, is it worth the exchange? That's something we have to ask ourselves. Is it worth exchange to lose ourselves for a certain amount of money? And before I share with you the spiritual truth around money that made me quit my job, even before that, something happened that made that decision even easier for me. So I was working for this financial institution, and I remember I was kept getting sick non-stop. I was there for a year and a half, and I kept getting sick physically because my intuition was already telling me that it is not the right place. But I was kept pushing myself to really tell myself, well, I am deserving of this position. It's a great position and I am making a lot of money. But my body was giving me strong signal that this is not it. So I kept getting sick. And I remember the one moment very strongly, my grandfather, he passed away whilst I was working for this job. And I remember I told my work that this happened, and they were not willing to give me time off to grieve. They were not willing to do that. And I was in such a painful state of being in that moment because I wanted time off to spend time with my mother. My mother was staying with me and we wanted to really have that time together. But they were not willing to give me time off because, according to them, I took some time off before because I was very unwell. And that moment was extremely revealing to me. What am I doing here? That I am negotiating a time because I am grieving. In that grieving state, I am negotiating a time with somebody to have a moment for myself, to support my mother, to support my family in this difficult time. And I am literally begging for a time off, and they are not willing to give me that. That really said it all. That moment really said it all. Why am I here? Why am I putting myself through this suffering that I have to beg to have a time off, to grieve for the pain that I'm deeply feeling? And that was extremely revealing, that everything I needed to know, I knew in that moment, that this is not it. This cannot be my life. I cannot allow a human being to make me beg to have a moment for myself, a moment for my family. That was my moment of complete realization that I will not be coming back to this work. I will not be doing this. So that is one of the painful moments that I had to go through to really have a deeper realization around money, around what actually money is, but also recognize that what am I robbing myself of? One of the first spiritual truths around money that made me quit my job, aside from what happened, is the law of infinite supply. The spiritual law of infinite supply says that you must be open, your vessel must be open to receive the infinite supply that abundance and money brings. But most people And when I was in that 9 to 5 structure, I was cutting myself off from that infinite supply. Why? Because I was energetically, as you probably know, money is energy. So I was energetically saying that I am only worthy of this 6 figure amount. Energetically, I was saying that, and physically, I was working so hard that I was getting burnt out every few weeks because I said my supply is only limited to 6 figure. I have to work hard to gain that. So my identity was attached to that money that I was receiving, and I was cutting myself off from the infinite supply that was available for me, right? So most people, when they are in 9 to 5 structure, they are cutting themselves off from the infinite supply that is available for them. And that infinite supply, from a universal perspective, you have to be open vessel. Your body, your energy is a vessel to receive. And if you are cutting yourself off from that infinite supply, you will block yourself from what you are meant to receive. And this is where most people struggle, that they want to launch their business. And business is an infinite supply, right? Because when you start your business, you are open for infinite amount of money to flow through, right? You can allow that to flow through. There's no cap. But any 9 to 5 structure has a cap. So that's one thing I learned. I learned that I don't want to cap myself. I don't want to cut myself from infinite supply. I want to be open for overflow. I want to be open for abundance to be received from all and any directions. So if you are in 9 to 5 structure, really know that you are cutting yourself off from the infinite supply that you are deserving of having, that you can have if you choose to, if you allow yourself to. But also know that if you are living in that safety net and that scarcity, that this is all available for you, then you have to work through that. You have to work through that identity. You have to work through those blocks and barriers that you have created for yourself to cut yourself off from that supply that is meant for you. So the deeper work needs to be done in order to shift yourself to be open for infinite supply. The second spiritual truth around money is the law of receiving. So the law of receiving says money is received in direct proportion to the level of worthiness you feel about yourself from within. So the more worthy you feel, the more money you make. The less worthy you feel, the less money you make. That is the law of receiving. So someone who capped themselves off $50,000, they are believing they are only worth $50,000. That is their belief system. That is their worthiness. But somebody who believes they are worthy of 1 million, then they are feeling worthy of 1 million. Right? It is all your identity of how you perceive yourself, how you see yourself. And most people who are even in a high paying job, and they may be making, like myself, I was making 6 figure, but I did not feel worthy. That's why I was working so hard. I was working so hard, and I chose a company that was extremely taxing energetically and emotionally, because within me I did not feel worthy. So I cut myself off from ease and flow. I put myself in a position that I was constantly working hard, proving my worth, seeking validation from my boss, working 12, 13, 14 hours days. And this is why it is important to, in order to raise your money, you must raise your worthiness, to open your vessel more to receive with ease. And a lot of people in their jobs, they are getting paid well, but they are sick. They are physically unhealthy. They are emotionally unhealthy. They are cut off from their infinite supply, and they are stuck in that space. So what does that require? That requires deeper work to release those wounds around worthiness, around not feeling safe to receive more. So that's what the work needs to be. So this is why it is important to not only raise your income, but actually raise your worthiness. And when you raise your worthiness, the law of receiving, as it says, you will receive direct proportion to your worthiness. You will receive how worthy you feel. And when I started raising my worthiness, my business it is not hard work. It is easy, it's effortless. I attract right people to come into my energy, to change and shift and transform their life, to shift their identity, to receive with ease and flow. So this is why it is important to raise your worthiness in order to raise your income. The final spiritual truth about money that I want you to know is the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence says your external reality is a mirror of your internal reality. So, if you are not feeling worthy, if you are not feeling enough, you will attract opportunities that will make you feel even less worthy, that will be toxic, that will be negative, that will be draining and exhausting, that will be manipulative and dark. If internally you feel unworthy, not enough, scared, live in fear, your external reality will mirror that. That's why people attract business partners who are extremely manipulative, narcissistic, or 9 to 5 jobs where they are stuck in an environment that is extremely political and dark. Right? And they are attracting because that was their internal reality. And once I realized that about myself, oh my, I attracted the law of correspondence. I attracted that company, that 9 to 5 job, that even though I'm getting paid 6 figure, but that is a mirror to my internal reality because I did not feel worthy fully. So I attracted that opportunity. That was not even an opportunity. That was painful experience. And I had to go through that painful experience in order to break through. That was the only reason I could break through. I could not see that before. I could only see it. And that's one thing I want you to know. If you are highly spiritual and you're awake and you are stuck in a toxic environment, I want you to know there's a reason why you are stuck there. The reason you are stuck there is because you need to learn certain lessons before you can leave. And some of us can be very stubborn. It has to get worse. It has to be so bad before we can quit. And that was me. I was extremely stubborn, even though my intuition was shouting. My body was saying I was getting sick, but I was not listening. I was kept going to work. I kept doing the job. I did not listen. It had to go so bad until my grandfather passed for me to realize, oh, this is not it. I must leave. I must leave. This is not it. This is completely misaligned in every possible way. I mean, my body is speaking, my intuition is speaking, my soul is speaking, my external reality is speaking. And I had to experience that in order for me to quit, in order for me to let go, in order for me to leave, because I was on some level, I needed to learn those lessons in order to recognize that this is not for me. In order for me to rise in my spirituality, rise in my gifts, my intuition, in order to heal and help people, in order to grow my audience, in order to expand into receiving millions of people in my energy. On Instagram and YouTube, millions, I'm sure over 5 to 10 million people have watched my videos so far. And I could not do that from that state of being, that when I was stuck in that environment, right? I could not do that. I could only do that by cutting myself off, by letting go of that 6 figure job so that I can rise into 7 figure, so that I can rise into 8 figures, so that I can rise into an impact that is impacting millions of people. And if you are feeling that urge, and if you are feeling that you are stuck in a place that is so misaligned, that is not fulfilling, that is not making you happy, that is not making you joyful, then maybe this is your moment to realize and recognize, what are you negotiating your worth with? Is it worth it? is it worth you staying there? And how bad does it need to get before you leave? That's the question you need to ask. How bad does it need to get? And sometimes it has to get really bad before we leave. Like in my example, it had to get really bad for me to leave. But really become aware, do you want to go that far? Do you want to allow yourself to get into that state? Because it is not very pretty state. It is not very healthy and happy state. We want to leave from a place of empowered state rather than depleted state. So I left when I was completely depleted, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way possible. But I don't want you to do that to yourself. So this is why I'm making this video, to make you aware the possibility that you have. And if you want to shift yourself to heal those wounds around worthiness, on value, your identity that is wounded, if you want to release that so that you empower yourself to move into 7-figure, 8-figure, embody that identity that receives millions with ease and flow, if you're ready for that impact, that wealth, that abundance, then you can click the link below to apply for my mentoring and get into the energy that expands you in that effortless flow of money and abundance, so that you're not surviving, you are thriving. And if you're ready for that, click the link below to apply for my mentoring. Other than that, like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel. And may the light in me reaches the light in you.